Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Pepper.
And what are we doing today, Pepper?
We are giving our first impressions of Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition.
Ooh.
The Terraforming Mars card game.
Yes, not to be confused with an expansion for Terraforming Mars, the original game.
Which is a very easy thing to do.
Yeah.
That sounds... like, I swear I've heard that as the title of a Terraforming Mars expansion.
It does sound like an expansion. But yeah, and some of the box art, especially on the sides, maybe not the front so much. The front still kind of has that look to it. It could be easily confused, I think, with an expansion for Terraforming Mars. If you just kind of went in very blindly, or if you told someone that didn't know as much about Terraforming Mars or whatever, but you said, "Oh, I want any of those expansions," and they, a family member or something bought this, they could definitely easily think that this was an expansion to the game. But yeah, if you didn't know, if you want to go check out our top 50 games of all time, our top 10, well, mine. I don't think any of neither of you had it in your top 50. But you can look at my top 10 even. For Terraforming Mars, the original game, it's one of my favorite games of all time. I just really, really love it.
And you don't own it.
And I don't own it. I think it must be my favorite game I don't own.
Probably.
I'm trying to think if there's... And it might be by a long shot. I can't even think of what my second one would be. Coimbra, maybe? Coimbra is pretty high up there.
Yeah.
That's probably my second favorite one. But yeah, it's a solid game. So I don't know when I first heard about. Must have been before this one on Kickstarter. Had heard. I think they kind of announced. Maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I feel like they announced both this and a dice game, Terraforming Mars card game, Terraforming Mars the dice game, like at around the same time. So I was like expecting them both to like come out, and I think the dice game is coming this year or something.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think so. 2022.
But for some reason, I was thinking it was going to come out. Both were going to come out in 2021 or 2020. I don't even remember when that was now, because if this came out, it was earlier 2021, right? Somewhat. Or mid-year maybe. But yeah, I was expecting both of those to come out, and I was really excited to see, because I don't own it. My brother-in-law owns it, so I don't really need 2 copies of it, and I have the app, so if I really want to play it, I can play it on that, or I'm sure he'd be more than happy to come play it as well. So I have very easy access to it. Didn't need it myself, but I thought, oh, wait a minute now. If one of these games, either this or the dice one, are received pretty well, maybe I could add that to my collection and kind of have my own Terraforming Mars game.
Yeah. So when those are announced, I mean, we're just kind of talking about a lot of other things. But when those are announced, I'm interested. Which one were you more interested in?
I think the dice game. Because to me, Terraforming Mars is already... not only, but big time, mainly a card game. Yeah. So I thought I wasn't 100% sure what that meant.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I don't know why, but for some reason in my mind I was seeing it as like a 2-player version type thing of like Terraforming Mars, kind of like a Seven Wonders duel. I don't think they ever said anything close to that. But in my mind, I think when I first heard that, that's what I was thinking, something like that. Some sort of tug-of-war.
You need to email Stronghold Games and get all this stuff figured out.
Stephen Bonacor probably knows what that answer is. It was once a 2-player card game that we changed into more than 2 players. But yeah, I think the dice game was the one I was a little more excited. I was excited to hear about what kind of both of them were doing, but I think the dice game was a little higher for me. Yeah. So I'm still interested in seeing what that does. I have almost no information. I don't know anything about what that is yet, but...
Yeah, I wasn't as big a fan of Terraforming Mars. I've only played it 2 times in person. I have played it once on the app as well.
And this guy just claims that... maybe it's more Scythe. You've claimed you've played a lot. How many times have you played Scythe?
Probably like 3 times as well.
Wow, you claim you played these games a ton and don't like them. But you might just know from this place.
Yeah. No, maybe I watch I just watch you play it again and again, and I'm like, it's a terrible game. Just watch
It's a longer
YouTube playthroughs and
They're a little
hate
bit
it.
longer.
No, I didn't hate Terraforming Mars, but it was a little much. I feel like it was just a little too much of a long-term planning type of arc of a game that I felt not really comfortable with, especially since you guys had played it more before me. So I wasn't a big fan of that, but there were still some parts of it that I did enjoy, and I liked the theme. I mean, not a big space theme guy, but I did enjoy the theme of Terraforming Mars, and when I heard this was coming out and that it would be a possibly simpler and shorter, possibly shorter.
Shorter.
Not short, but shorter.
60 minutes.
Yeah. Sure. Version. I was excited to see what it brought to the table.
Okay. So, yeah. I think, based on me looking at both of, this one was I had pretty high expectations, I think.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of died a little bit just because I didn't know for sure. I'm like, I don't know if I want a smaller version of Terraforming Mars, because just the big game feel of Terraforming Mars to me, it's kind of what made it what it was for a top game for me. So I didn't know exactly. So it kind of died a little bit for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, still overall, Terraforming Mars at all, I was very hopeful and excited for this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But surprisingly, you were the one that got it.
Yes.
I don't know how that happened. I was shocked when you said that.
Yeah, because we were walking through Target,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever was it, and you're like, ooh, Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. Maybe we should pick it up. And I'm like, maybe don't pick that up. And then and it turned out I had already ordered it. But I think I was drawn in by, one, the hype of, I think the Dice Tower gave it great reviews, and I know some of them even say like they don't ever have to play Terraforming Mars again, and they prefer this version. So that got me hyped about it, and also this is the collector's edition with the dual-layered player boards and some nice storage trays as well. And I really like those. I mean, I just love a really good production. I think I really like the artwork here, and the boards, and the storage, and the resource counter cubes. They're kind of marbled. I know the original Terraforming Mars, I still don't know if people like those cubes or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they kind of
chrome.
Yeah, and they kind of chip off, I think, if you play it a lot.
Which
I don't know. They're fine.
Which, that's cool, but I really love the look of these ones.
I like those. I like
kind of
these
a
better.
marbled look. So I think the great production and the hype really sold me on this. Plus, I knew that you love Terraforming Mars, so I'm like, okay, that's an excuse.
Excuse. Get it for him.
But yeah, or what were you going to say?
Yep, I was going to ask you.
So
now we get into the game, actually.
We played it. So we're done talking about Terraforming Mars and Terraforming Mars dice game.
Yeah,
and
shouldn't have had me probably talk about this one, because
this
I was
was
just going to go over
originally
my
a
favorite
two-player
game. One of my favorite games. Yeah.
Coin, bro, thrown in there. Target, shout out. But yeah, we played it. I played it solo a couple times, and then we ended up playing it together. So what did you think? First off, it didn't take 60 minutes. It took a lot more than 60 minutes.
A lot more. We
but
were probably 30 to 40 minutes through the game, and now I'm going back to Terraforming Mars again. You have the oxygen level and the heat.
Yep.
And the oceans. We had about 4 ocean tiles placed, I think.
Yeah.
And we were up like one spot on each of the other two.
Only because I needed ocean tiles flipped to play a card, so I really forced that.
And yeah, those other ones were at 1 out of like, I don't know how many there are, 20 or something
20
like
and 25 or something.
And that was like 40 minutes into the game. And I'm like,
Yeah, it felt like, oh my gosh, this could go on.
And that's one play for me. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what it's going to be every time. We might just not have had the right cards to kind of get things going in those.
Yeah. But it was like that in the solo play as well, where it took quite a while. Even though there is a dummy player that moved it up. So that was usually the only movement that I had for like maybe the first 40 minutes. But yeah, so this one is pretty similar in Terraforming Mars, kind of the card play aspect and the moving up of those tracks. But something that is different is the actions that you can take, where Terraforming Mars is more kind of free form. You can do whatever actions you can do. But this one, we each have a deck of cards representing 5 different actions, and we play it.
Not really deck of cards, hand of cards.
Or hand of cards, yes.
5 cards.
5 cards. And
It's a deck. But.
It's a deck. And we play it. World record smallest deck of cards. But yeah, you'll play one face down of what action you want to do that round. You reveal, and you each get to resolve those actions with you getting the bonus of the one that you played. So that was, I believe that's Race for the Galaxy has something like that.
Yeah, and what was it? I think I saw it on the Dice Tower top 100 games of all time. One of them had, it might have been like the first one that actually did it. But yeah, I think Race for the Galaxy is the main one people talk about. But I don't remember what it was. There's another one. I think there's several games that do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, playing out the cards and then getting the bonus of the one you did. It's definitely the big part of this game that makes it different from Terraforming Mars, I feel like.
Yeah, and I really love the concept of it. But when, and this was a freak accident, but we probably matched up like 80% of the time.
So, yeah, we typically only got one action that we did.
I think that, in addition to being a 2-player game and only having 2 cards, and if you are kind of on the same wavelength at one point, you're probably going to continue to be, and you can try to kind of outthink them and play something else, but then maybe you aren't getting what you want, or maybe they do the same thing,
right?
And you both play the same card again. But yeah, I think that definitely did slow us down.
Yeah, we had a very slow start.
Yeah, we really did.
Because if we had kind of known that one of us would maybe play, I think probably one of the most played things was the play a green card.
Yeah.
If we always knew kind of who was going to do that, the other one could have done something else. And there were times then too. Then once we started doing different cards, then you could tell like, oh, he just played his green one. Because I had played it the turn before or something, so now I know if I play it, we're going to get 2 actions. Or any color cards if we both had... he had played his orange or its production, and I had played something else. I could play the orange next time knowing that he's going to play one of the other 4 actions. I do like that system, how it works and whatnot, but yeah, I think that was one of the things that definitely made the game drag on was that... It was that, and that made it feel quite a bit more limiting to me than kind of what you could do in Terraforming Mars. Because in that, it was kind of one of those where you just keep going as long as you can do something. Kind of like the thing I really like in Tapestry, and that's probably why both of them are... that's another one. If you watch the top 10 of our top 50 of all time, both of those are in my top 10. I really, really like that, where you're just trying to continue to do that, but that is not in this game at all. I don't think.
No, not really.
Yeah, not really.
No. But yeah, so, I mean, I don't want to get to kind of suggestions to change it, but I think adding some dummy players, like just from those extra decks in lower player counts, I think that could help the game. To just get an extra turn. An extra action per round, or maybe 2 extra actions. Because I think I've heard some people say that it's actually not a 2-player game, that it's better at more player counts, just because you're going to have more things happening.
I would think that would be the case.
I would think that would... I mean, you're going to be resolving the same amount of actions that you need to get what you need, but it does feel like it would be faster as well. Because I guess, there would be more players doing it too. and Terraforming Mars. So I think it would be quite a bit faster, actually, for once, to have more players playing the game.
But that, too, I feel like the thing, too, then, is this one, I'm trying to think. We only play a 2-player, so I don't know for a fact. But I think it's very hard to track what other players are doing.
Yeah. But
if you don't need to for most of the stuff.
But deciding what card to play, and seeing what you think they will do, you do kind of want a little information.
Right, because I could see, like, your production, but that's pretty much it. I had no idea, like, what
like
if you had, like,
abilities
special
or-
actions or
yeah.
what type of things you had, like, at all during the whole game. And I just feel like that would be even more in, like, a 3 or 4 player game. And I guess in the main game, you don't really know what everyone has. But if they have action cards, you usually see it happen because it goes from player to player. But I think what's supposed to make this game go faster than Terraforming Mars is that you can kind of do it simultaneously.
Yeah.
So not being able to, or having that in there just creates that where, especially if everyone's got a ton of cards out there, I think it's just a little harder. And maybe it's just because it was the first play, and I was still, just trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah. I don't feel that you need that, especially with more players. I don't think that you really need to worry too much about what other people are doing. I wouldn't think, because, I mean, if it is concerning kind of what card to play, there's still going to be a few cards to play. I don't think you really need to put too much thought into it. I think you can kind of just play what you want to play in that case. But yeah.
I guess, I probably just think about it more as the base game where you're going for those awards and stuff and kind of needing to know those types of things.
Yeah.
And you don't really need that in this game. But
I think
it's made differences, I think.
Yeah, I didn't like those things in the base game. The awards and pretty much any interactivity. No, I don't know. I feel like it just added a little too much for me to think about and plan ahead, and the timing of things. But I did, this removes those, but it also removes any board presence. Really, like, there's no main board or controlling areas or tile placement. Really, there's tile placement. Actually, you're supposed to set the tiles out and then flip them, so it's tile flipping. But I at least let us place the tile where we want it. But yeah, there didn't have to be a main board in this game. You could just take a tile and get what it says. I mean, so that's maybe a little disappointing that there wasn't a little more there, and maybe an expansion will add a little more. I would like that, just to get this just as packed as the original Terraforming Mars.
Right.
But yeah, that was...
And even on that main board, the scoring track, which is on there, the spaces, like, literally only have enough room for your one cube.
Yeah, pretty
and,
small.
like, if you bump it at all or move it, it's between two, and it's extremely difficult to remember where it was at.
Yeah, and the oxygen and temperature, and those cubes are like the biggest cubes in the game, and they just simply don't fit on the spots. Like, they're going to be half on another spot. So I just take the tiniest cube, the little bronze cube, and put it on there instead. So there's some problems there with that just whole main board not really being quite right, I think. There's a few problems there. But yeah, I did enjoy the tile placement type of thing in the original Terraforming Mars. But I'm not missing it too much. I think I just enjoyed that more because that was something that I could grasp onto in this big new experience. That's something that I was familiar with because I had played different tile placement games. So I don't know if it really stood out to me as being a great part of the game. It was just something that I could understand more and get a foothold in that.
Yeah, I can see that. So then I guess where does that put it for you?
So it's been about 50-50 talking about other games and this game.
Right.
And it sounds like a lot of negative, but I still really enjoy this game, and I really like the rounds and the card play of that. And maybe if we didn't match up on 80% of our flips, getting to do different actions and different combinations of them. I really enjoy it. It feels, the card play does remind me of Terraforming Mars. So I think you're going to get a little feel in there, but I don't think this is a replacement for the big game. I mean, with my limited experience with both of them, I wouldn't say this is a replacement of that. I don't think it's a shorter version of it. I think if you want a big experience, you can still probably go with original Terraforming Mars. I think if you want thinky card play only type game, I think you'd probably go with this. But my number is probably going to be maybe an 8 to 8.5 for first impression.
Yeah, I agree with almost pretty much everything you said, and I think I'm sitting at around a 7.5. It's still one that I definitely want to play some more, and kind of maybe explore it a little bit more and see if, maybe the action part of it, the way we kind of select those, maybe trying to not always go for the obvious one and see how that plays out. Maybe it'll make the game take even longer, because then maybe you'll also not do it, and then we'll be taking actions that neither of us really want. But I think there's just those few. I think it's hard just because Terraforming Mars is one of my favorite games, and I just don't feel like this replaces that for me. You do get feels of it, and I think if it was shorter, and it's off of one play, so it might not be quite as long as the game that we played. But I feel like if I wanted it to, I don't know, I think I would still prefer almost, 8 out of 10 times playing the normal one over this. But it's still a very solid game, and if someone wanted to play it, I'd be more than willing to play this version. It's got those slight differences to it that make it interesting, because we don't have. Do we have any? I'm trying to think. Do we have any other games that have that, where you blindly pick an action and then you get a benefit for?
I feel like we might have one, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
So that's something that we don't really have in the collection, so that is nice. It's a little bit of a change for us, at least. I know there's, like you said, there's other games that do it, but it is nice that it does have some familiar stuff with Terraforming Mars as well. And that card play in there is one of my favorite things in Terraforming Mars, and that is, I can feel a lot of that in this one as well. And
you do really feel like you build a lot in this game, because you have like 20 to 40 cards.
Right.
Played. Okay, maybe not that many. I don't know. It was quite a few, because I had to move over my board because we were sitting like this. I had to move it over to the edge of the table because my cards were going over into his play area. So it is cool to see that grow. So it's not too small of games, so it could be a big grand experience, possibly a little bit of a taste of that. But I think it's for me more forgiving in the cards, that you don't have to pay to keep them, and you can trash them for 3 coins each whenever you want. And also the kind of, is it titanium or whatever it is, those 2 resources that give you discounts. In the base game, you kind of produce them and you spend them as your discount. But here, they're just permanent discounts, which I really enjoyed that.
I did like that take on it. I think I like how it's in the base game, but I also like this way as well. I think both of the ways are both work really well, I think, in the games. I don't know if I prefer one over the other. I just like how they both work. And I think in this game, I think they both work for their individual games. I think they're the perfect ones in there. But I think this would also work in the base one if you had it that way. But I feel like this one might need it to be this way versus production. I don't know that it probably would work, but I think the way it is what allows it to probably work the way it is. But
I think so.
So still pretty solid. It's pretty solid ratings. And I don't know if that probably puts it about the same as you rank Terraforming Mars, or maybe above that.
I would say
currently.
prefer this currently. I was thinking I should probably play the app again sometime soon. I was thinking maybe before we film this, but that didn't happen. Somehow I didn't get around to playing Terraforming Mars. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that some more, and now that I'm more familiar with this, and maybe that'll be a little easier to play that game now.
Yeah, but if you've made it this far in the video and you liked what you heard, mainly talking about other games and not this one, kind of got a little off track of a first impression, so we may have to change this to a first impression comparison video. I don't know. But if you like that or would want us to do another video,
it has Terraforming Mars in the title.
Right. That's going to be the main, I think, question.
The Coimbra was uncalled for.
Yeah, that was a little uncalled for. But yeah, if you have any questions on that or want any further information on what our thoughts are or any differences between them, leave a comment below. Otherwise, we might have more content on this one eventually, so you can always subscribe. It's free, I believe, yet. I don't know if they've started charging to subscribe to channels. But otherwise, we will see you next time. And as always, don't forget to
keep on nibbling
on Mars.